Hi everyone, and welcome to our video to learn how to easily resize background papers and elements so that way you can go ahead and print these elements out so you can craft with it in physical paper. I know that lots of you do like to craft in physical paper and buy our digital kits to do that with, and we also do too. So I wanted to give you a simple program in order to be able to do this. This is a free program that you can download. It is called GIMP, G-I-M-P. And you download it from their web site at gimp.org. So when you download it, you get a zipped folder, just like when you purchase from us. You unzip that folder, you follow the instructions to install it, which is very simple. It's very quick and very simple. You won't have any problems with that. And when you open it for the first time, this is what you get. You get this big main screen. This is our working area. You get this layers palette down the side, which we won't deal with very much. And you have the tool palette down this side, okay? And I'll show you, you see that there's lots on here, and don't be daunted. We only use about 4 of them. So it's very simple to use, okay? So for those of you, one other precursor, for those of you using Cricut, since they've updated their software here, we also own a Cricut, so I know it, you know it intimately. Cricut updated their software about 2 months ago. And now, when you upload some of our background papers, some of the detailed ones, because I know some of you have used Cricut to do this, to resize things and everything else, you will find that the background papers, in a lot of cases, won't work anymore. You will get an error message that says, oh, it didn't upload, file error, did not upload, please check your internet connection. Well, it's actually not your internet connection, it has nothing to do with it. Cricut actually limits the file size that you can upload. I don't know why they're not telling you that, but they aren't telling you that at this point, and that's the reason you're getting this error. So that is the second reason why I wanted to do this video, is for those of you using the Cricut software to do this. Here's another program that you can easily do it in, and you'll have much easier results. So let's get into this. When we first start with this, we are going to want to create a sheet on here in order to work in. So we go up to the top on the word File. You left click your mouse button on File, and it brings up this flyout menu, and we want to choose New. Okay, so for those of us, it's actually going to be in pixels when it comes up. There you go. For those of us that are creating in the Imperial system, we have 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper, and for those of you in the metric system, you have your A4 size. So we want to tell this program that that's the size we want to be in. So first thing we do is we can change pixels to inches or millimeters for those of you in the metric system. And the second thing is underneath you're going to see here's the size in pixels, and it says 72 dpi. Okay, what that means, you're going to be a whiz at parties now when you're going to have all this computer knowledge. The 72 dpi is a lower grade of quality. So how sharp it is, how good, crisp it'll print, that kind of stuff. Everything you get from us is 300 dpi, and we want to retain that. So how do we do that? See the words advanced options? Click on that. And here you go, you see screen resolution. We want to change these 72 numbers, both of these, to 300. Okay? Once I change one, it'll actually change the other one for you. So we always want to make sure that it is at 300 dpi so that you preserve the good quality that you're downloading from us. Okay? Once you've done that, you click the OK button. Okay, and here's the one little funny thing. Whenever it opens a new little window for you in here, I don't know why it does this, but this is the only quirk to the program, is you click OK and nothing happens. Oh, now I clicked OK, and you have to click it twice, and then it'll happen for you. But just note that. If you have a problem, you can just move the window a little bit, and it'll work for you. Okay, so now we have an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper on here that we can fill up and print with. Okay, so first off, let's try printing a background paper. Okay, so you go into your files wherever you have your Nitwit collection stored. Okay, I have one coming up here, and I'm just using the birdsong collection. It just happens to be the one I happened to have open here. So let's just pick this floral paper. Okay, so we're going to do something called drag and drop. If that term is not familiar to you, you simply hover your cursor over that paper, you press and hold down your left mouse button, and you slide your mouse and drag it till the paper gets onto your GIMP screen, on your working screen, and there you go. It puts it right in there for you. Very easy, rather than having to open it. That's called drag and drop. Now, you'll see that it only shows the part of the paper that is the 8.5 by 11. It does this border that goes around with the black dotted lines and the yellow highlight. That says that's actually how big the paper is. The papers you get from us are actually 12 inch by 12 inch. So that's what it's just highlighting to you. You only have a part of that paper. The trick to resizing papers is knowing your project. Obviously, you have something in mind that you want to create, whether that's a scrapbook page, whether that is a mini album, whether that is a card. You already kind of know, oh, okay, let's just use a card as an example because it's the smallest of them all. My card I want to design is 4¼ inches wide by 5½ inches tall. Okay, well, I know that my card basically is only about 1/4 of this page. Okay, so when you resize something, it is all about how you want it to look to your eye. Okay, it has nothing to do with anybody else. There is no right or wrong. It's all about how you want it to look. If you were to just roughly with your eye cut out 1/4 of this, you can see the pattern is way too large. We want a bit smaller pattern than that. So how do we do that? We go over to our tools palette over here, and on the 4th line down, you'll see the very first one. If you just hover your mouse cursor over the top, it brings up those little words there for you, and that's called the scale tool. Okay, well that's what we want to do. So we left click onto that to grab that tool, and here we have our scale tool activated. Now, hopefully you can see this on your screen, but in case you can't, it shows the little icon of the scale tool, and then just up and to the left a little bit, there is a crosshair. Okay, so an up and down line and a side to side line with kind of a hole in the center. That is the part, that little crosshair, you want to put on the top left corner. Okay, so that's how we're going to scale this down. When you scale, you also want it to proportionally scale, meaning we have a 12 by 12 paper. When I scale it down, say whatever, I want it to remain as a 12 by 12. I don't want it to end up as a 6 by 12 or something, because you're going to distort the whole pattern of the paper. So how we do that is on a Windows keyboard, you press and hold down the Control key. On a Mac, that's the Command key. Okay, so we press and hold that down. Our scale tool is up in the top left corner. We press and hold the left mouse button. Okay, it brings up a little window that you can actually change if you want to. You can just change the numbers if you want to. But we can slide our mouse button. And the reason we do that is you can see, even though the grid is across it, you can kind of see, okay, that pattern's getting in around the range that I think might work for me. Okay, when it is, you let everything go. You let go of your Control key. You let go of your mouse. And there we have it. That's kind of what size we are. And as you can see up here, it's telling me it's about 8¾ by 8¾ We press the scale button on there, and there it is. It resized it for us. Okay? Now, how do I get that back on my paper? Well, we come down to the 3rd row on our tools palette, and the second one in is called our move tool, and it looks like an up and down arrow and a side to side arrow all as one icon. We left click our mouse button on that. Now we've selected that tool, which is our move tool. We just come to anywhere on that paper, and we slide it around so that you think of the white paper that we've created as our printable area. We slide it into that, so there it is. Okay? So now it's in a spot that we could print. Now when you look at it, you might say, okay, so there would be about 1/4 of the paper. Yeah, that's about the right size. Okay? If you say, geez, you know what, I made it too small. Oh boy, now what do I do? Easy. This is the great thing about digital, is when you have a piece of paper and you cut it, that's it. You can't unring that bell. Here in a computer, you can. You go up top and you see the word edit. There's file, edit, select, view. You click on the word edit, and again your flyout menu appears, and you see the very top one says undo move layer. Highlight that by moving your cursor over it, left click your mouse button, and it undid my move. Now I can go edit again and undo the scale of it. There we go. I'm back to exactly when I put that piece of paper on there. It's nice and large again. Okay? So now I can rescale it again if I want to. So again, I go over to my tool palette, I grab my scale tool, I put those crosshairs up in the top left hand side of that, where the dotted line is, where my actual paper is. I hold down my Control key and I scale it down. So let's only scale it down to about 9.5. Okay? I press scale in that little window, and voila, it's resized it for me. Again, I go to my tool palette, I click on the move tool, and then I move this so that I can see, there it is. Now if I look at this and I say, okay, so a quarter of the paper, yep, that's the right size, that's what I like. Great. There you have it. There's how you resize a background paper properly to get exactly what you want. And again, like I said, you can resize this. You could have this as a teeny tiny little piece of paper, a teeny tiny little pattern. If that's what you wanted, you have all the options in the world with this. So now when I go ahead, I can simply print this paper if I want, but I might as well wait till the end and print everything at once. How do I keep this now, this changed one? I go up to the top left corner of my screen again where you see the word file. I left click on that and you get all kinds of options here. When you scroll down, you will see the word save, but you'll see the word save as. Always choose save as. The reason being, if we just clicked save, it would take that paper, the original paper that you downloaded from us, and it would save your shrunken paper right on top of that. So you never have the original anymore. When you click save as, you end up saving another, you can call it whatever you want, you can call it the same file name, it doesn't matter, but you end up having that as a copy now, okay? That's the important part. When, rather than me scrolling through my computer and getting to the part that I'm going to go to, you would choose that window. Sorry, let's just go back there. You go save as. Now it's asking you, where do you want to save it? Maybe it's on your desktop, maybe it's in your one particular drive, whatever. You just navigate in here to wherever that file folder is that was your Nitwit Collections collection. Okay, I'm just going to do this real quick here because I know where everything is, and you probably do in your computer. And Birdsong. Okay, when you navigate to this, you're going to want to create a new folder. So if you are using a Windows computer, and for those of you with Mac, you'll know how to do this as well. Within the folder that you downloaded from us, that's what you get here. Like obviously there's some extra stuff because we're the creators of this. But you go up to the top corner here, and the second icon in says new folder. You click on that, and it makes a new folder for me. So I'm going to call this print items. Okay? And I press my enter key, and there it is. Now that I have this, this is where I am going to save stuff. So when I go file, save as, I would scroll through and tell it, okay, it's here and it's here and it's here. That's what I want to do is go into my computer so that and tell it where I want to save, and I want to save it in that print items folder. That way you are going to have a copy. You're going to have this shrunken one in that area, so then that way you can just grab those right out of the print area, or that print folder, and print everything at the end. You know exactly where they all are, and it's also contained in that particular kit. So if you ever want to refer to it in the future, you already know you have these things saved for you. Okay? I hope that makes sense. Lastly, as you can see, the paper, there's a little bit of white space at the bottom, and you are only going to use a quarter of it if you're making a card. Now you may say, well, geez, I'm printing this whole big paper. Yes, that's very true, but think about the extras that you have left over. You always have those when you use physical paper, when you go to the craft store and buy physical paper, and there's always a multitude of uses for those. So it's kind of nice. You don't have to come in and, recreate everything again. You actually have some leftover paper to use. Okay? So that's how you do background papers. I'm just going to close this out and discard the changes. And let's do elements. So again, I just want a new paper. Okay? This one, now it's kept all my settings. It remembered, oh, you said you wanted an 8.5 by 11 paper and you wanted 300 DPI. Oh, great. So I just click OK this time. Okay? So it's already given me exactly what I wanted. Now, when we have our Birdsong collection, and we know we're making, again, I'll just use an example as a card just because it's the smallest of items. Let's grab this little bird here in the flower cluster. Again, we're going to drag and drop that. So I hover over that image, I push and hold down my left mouse button, I drag it into this work area on GIMP, and it places it right on there for me. Okay? Now I have my move tool on, but I know that if let's just move this to the top corner. This is an easy way of doing this. There it is. It's right in the top corner. So now I can see, because of the rulers, I can see that this is 5 inches wide and it's about 4 inches tall. Well, I know that my card isn't that large. I know I want to resize that. So again, we go over to our scale tool, which is the 4th row down, first one. I left click on it. I know that I want to scale this thing down to fit my card. So I place those crosshairs in the top left corner. I hold down my control key. I press my left mouse button and I scale it down. And as you can see, it's so convenient in that window. It's telling you exactly how big it's going to be finished when you're done. So if I know my card is 4.25 inches, or sorry, 4.25 inches wide and 5 inches tall, I'm saying that's a little bigger than 3.5 inches. Wow, if that was my main element on that card, that's probably a good size. I push my scale button and there I go. It is exactly the size I want. Okay, let's go over and select our move tool once again. Okay, so we select our move tool and let's move that up to the top. Okay, so that way it's just kind of placed out of the way for you. One quick thing for those of you that when you print, you want to make sure and stay just a little bit away from the edges, okay, like that, because your printer, for those of you that do not have borderless printing, okay, a lot of you probably maybe don't have that option on your printer, it's going to leave a little bit where it won't print. It won't print right to the very edge, so we want to put things right to the very edge. Okay, so now we obviously want to fill up this paper with all of the elements that we're going to use on our card. So let's add another one. So let's go back to our folder and say, oh, that flower cluster is pretty. Okay, let's press down our left mouse button, hold it down, drag it onto our work area, and there it goes. It places it on our paper for us. Now, the beauty of this is when I select my move tool, it only moves that one. It only moves that image. It doesn't move the bird. It doesn't recognize that you're talking about the bird right now. And that's where you see it up in this layers palette. It tells us we're working on the flower cluster layer. If I want to go back to the bird layer, I can click on that one and now I can move that one around, and it only moves that one around. It doesn't move around the flowers. Okay? So that's how you kind of choose and say, this is what I want to move. You're telling your program, okay, what do I want to work with, or what do I want to move around? Again, the flower cluster is way too large for our card that we're making. So we select our scale tool, okay? We put those crosshairs up in the top left corner. We press down our control key and we hold that on our keyboard. Now we press down our left mouse button and we scale it down, and we look at that window as we're doing this and we say, okay, so that's 4 inches wide, so I still got to come down a little bit. There, 3.5 inches wide. That'll get me perfectly on my card. I press the scale and voila, it does it for me. Okay? Now I go back up, I select my move tool, and I put that up here so that when I'm printing on my page, I've got enough room to fussy cut around it, or if I'm using my Cricut, there's enough room to get around it that the Cricut can cut it out for you. Okay? Lastly, obviously we can fill up this page as much as we want, but I'm going to show you how to use our blank tags that you get in the kit. And this is a nice one that maybe for those of you that haven't done this, and now that you're a computer genius and using your program, this is going to make life a little easier for you too. So again, we're going to drag and drop that tag into our area here, and we say, okay, the tag's a little big, obviously, so we're going to want to scale that down. So again, we hold down our control key, we hold down our left mouse key, we scale it down, and this one I'm going to look actually at my screen while I'm doing it because I'm going to put it over top of that one big flower cluster. So you think, that's probably about the right size. Scale it, I grab my move tool, and I put it up there. Yeah, when I'm doing this in paper, that's going to be perfect. I'll put it up on some foam dots. Oh yeah, that's going to look just great. Okay? Now, with this, we can write on this. And this is the great part. Okay? You're going to be able to actually put your own thing on here. Now, you're more than welcome to use pens if that's what you prefer. But if you'd rather have something written on here already and print it with the writing already on it, I'm going to show you how to do that. We're going to go over to our layers area. And again, remember how when we selected, okay, that one's the flower cluster. Well, we want to write on this but we're going to have to move it around. We may have to shrink it. So we're going to need it on its own separate layer so that we can move it around. How do we do that? Well, if you come to the bottom of this window, you're going to see there's a bunch of little icons across the bottom here. The very first one, it looks like a blank page. You click on that, and it is going to create a new layer for us. We're going to have our own created layer, and actually when it comes up, it shows as white. Okay? The only couple of things we want to change on here is let's go back into inches so that we can understand how big this is going to be. We certainly don't need an 8.5 by 11 layer when we are only writing on this little tag. Let's just, for simplicity's sake, let's just make this 4 by 4. So it's 4 inches by 4 inches. And then it says layer fill type. Okay? White is checked off. Well, what happens if we leave it as white? Imagine taking a piece of white paper, cutting out a 4-inch by 4-inch square, writing on it. Well, now try put that on top of that tag. You're going to cover up this pretty flower border and all that kind of stuff. You don't want that. We're going to choose transparency. Okay? So in essence, what we're doing is we're creating like a stamp. Okay? So when we press OK, and again, see how it doesn't want to, there we go, double clicked on it and it gave it to me. When now that this is transparent, when we write in this, it's going to act exactly like a stamp. So just think about it when you're physically crafting. You take that stamp, you dunk it in your ink, you put it on your paper. There is nothing other than what your stamp is. Okay? Those are the only lines that show up. That's the same thing what we're doing when we're creating a transparency. Okay? As a transparent background. So, how do we write? Okay? Down on the 5th line, you'll see the big letter black A. That's our text tool. We want to click on that. Okay? And actually yours is going to come up as 18 pixels. Okay, there we go. So in the lower part of our tools options here, you're going to see you have a whole bunch of options, and you can change the color of it, you can change the size of it, and you can change your font. Okay? Now, changing your font, you're only limited to the ones in your computer, and I'm going to show you this in a second here. But you can have whatever kind of font you want. The first thing we want to do is we want to change our size. 18 pixels is incredibly small, okay? And don't worry about making this too large. We can shrink this after. But it's going to be a lot easier for you to see. Let's just create this at 200, okay? That is going to be nice and large. We're going to be able to see that and move it around easily. Now, how do I change the font? I click on this, okay? And just type in the letter, highlight the word that's already in there, okay? So it's highlighted in blue, and just type in the letter A. Now it brings up a thing for you, and it'll have all of the fonts that you have in your computer, okay? So you can choose any of the fonts that you want in here. Let's choose something. I'll choose Algerian. Now, you may obviously maybe not have that. We have a lot of purchase fonts because of the designing, so we have a lot more options than you do, but you can choose whatever you want. Now I'm ready to write. So now I click into my layer, okay, into my transparent layer, and we see how that little window comes up. And let's write in the word hello. Okay, there we go. Okay, so there you go. You've got the word hello. As you can see, it is too large for the thing and everything, not to worry about that. Let's go over to our tools again and grab our move tool. Okay, so when we grab our move tool, because it's transparent in behind, you have to really be right on the letter in order to do this. Okay, I'm going to move this down here so you can see this. If I'm not right on the letters of it, because that's the only part of it's like a stamp, remember, you can't pick up air, and the rest around it, think of it, it's like air. So if I'm on the white part of it and I move it, see how it's grabbing my background? It's obviously saying, oh, okay, it's selected something else for me. Edit, undo, okay? So we can again reverse that. But make sure that your white little cursor arrow is right on the letter, and that's another reason why we created it so large, is we can place it kind of on our tag. Again, we see that it's too large for the tag, no problem. Let's go up and grab our scale tool again. Put it up in the top corner, top left corner, those two crosshairs. Hold down my control key, hold down my left mouse button key, scroll it down. That probably looks like it'll be about right. We'll find out in a second. So there's our scale. Oh, that actually does look pretty good. If it was still too large, you can scale it again. Just repeat the same process we just did. When you're happy with it, you grab your move tool, Again, you got to grab right on the letter and move it onto your tag, and there you go. I'm just going to click off the layer so you don't see the box on it there. Look at that. That fits perfectly on there. And now when you go to print, that is right on that tag for you. So if you wanted a date, you wanted someone's name, you wanted whatever you wanted on there, it's printed right on that tag for you, and that's how you use those. Okay? Once we've filled up our sheet, I'm not going to bore you with filling up an entire sheet here, but once your sheet is full, again, we want to go File, Save As. Remember, Save As, always Save As. And we scroll to wherever we tell this wherever it's in my D drive and it's in, here's my file, and we press Save at the bottom of the thing. So we go into that print folder, the print items folder in our here, right? There's our print items. That's where we want to be saving it in, okay? So that way we have a copy of it. Now, for those of you using Cricut, remember that you only have a certain size that you can do print and cut at, okay? You can, if you want, you can send me a message in here. I'll give you the print size, but most of you probably already know that because you're using that program. The other thing you can do in here is you can print right out of here, okay? If you are printing and fussy cutting, you can print right out of here. Same thing with your resized background paper. You can print right out of here. And how do we do that? We go up to File, we left click on it, and it gives us this flyout menu, it gives us all our options. You come down till you see Print. We click on that, and it brings up this window that you select the printer you want. You can go into your preferences so that way you can change everything in your printer, what kind of paper you're using, how, you know, if you want to change any of your options. And again, for those of you that are new to this video, we do go to this YouTube channel. When you're done this video, we do have a video in our how-to section that tells you how to get the best print from your home printer, so that we have an option for that. And when you're ready, you press the print button, and away it goes. It whirs and it prints away. So there you go. There is GIMP, and there is an easy way to resize everything exactly to the size you want and print it all out so that you're utilizing a full sheet of paper, and you're off to the races. You are a computer genius. If you need to watch this again, that's fine. You've got the video here. Watch it as many times as you want. But before you do, you'll see in the lower right-hand corner there of the screen on the video, you'll see our Nitwit Collections logo. Click on that. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you'll be made aware when we have new videos that come out. As well, give us the thumbs up on this video if you liked it, and leave us a comment. Let us know if this was helpful to you. Let us know if you'd like more information. Obviously, I've just shown you very basic stuff in here. This program has a lot more options to it, and you can learn and grow with it. But let me know if there's something else specific that you wanted to see. I'll be happy to do a video on it. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you enjoy your creating even more now. Thanks again, and see you soon.